You're watching Back Pages tonight. Welcome back to you watching at home. Welcome back to the Mirror's chief football writer, John Cross, and also the Athletics football correspondent, David Ornstein. OK, let's talk about the Premier League football of the evening and the result at Old Trafford. Manchester United 3, Newcastle 2. Life never dull at the Theatre of Dreams. And in the back of the Times, Diallo delivers, but Rashford rows, and there is a picture of Diallo celebrating his goal. Great hit for the second, having set up the first. But Marcus Rashford, who argued with a supporter in the stands, it would appear. Life is never simple either. There's always a cloud along with the silver lining when it comes to Manchester United. John, if I could come to you for this one. I mean, it's an important result for United in terms of trying to, salvage something from their season, but Erik Ten Hag to keep putting himself in the right place to try and secure his future at the club as well. How significant do you feel it was?
Yeah, I thought it was significant because I thought it was a good performance. I thought at the end, you might have caught some of his kind of speech, end of season, the lap of appreciation, as they call it now. So it's appreciating the fans rather than the other way round in Man United's case, obviously. And basically saying we've got the best fans in the world. Well, I mean, if that's not a clear message to try and get them back on side, I don't know what is really. I do think it's in the melting pot because, we'll probably come on to it, but sort of kind of is Tuchel staying at Bayern? When the dates don't appear to align for Gareth Southgate. I'm sure that Gareth Southgate, the amazing job that he's done as England manager, would make him a very attractive proposition for a top club. But he's contracted and he can't speak to clubs during the Euros, and he's not about to sort of kind of break that trust. So where do United go from here? So it almost feels like Ten Hag, is still in there fighting, believing that he's got a chance of keeping this job. And I don't think he's lost that faith. It'll be interesting to see which way it goes, but I don't think anything is set in stone, really. And so kind of performances like that, I mean, Hojlund off the bench, scoring a really good goal. That earlier strike was terrific, wasn't it? Good performances, battling performances. Even Casemiro put in some defensive heroics. So, we've seen a lot tonight. And look, while United have still got a Wembley final to come, they've still got the prospect of, therefore, of European football. They've still got something to play for. It did feel like a big result because they dug deep on Sunday, didn't quite come off for them against Arsenal, but it did against Newcastle. And I do think that Ten Hag will be looking at that and said, hopefully that's a message.
Yeah, I'm wondering, David, is this, I suppose, a little bit, with the way that John has described that, an indication, an illustration of how maybe not just the manager, but certain players feel that they've got to prove themselves and their value, knowing that there might be a bit of a shake-up at Old Trafford in the summer. What's your read and what's your take on what was seen at Old Trafford tonight, both on the pitch in terms of the game and Erik Ten Hag and his declarations afterwards?
Yeah, well, one swallow doesn't make a summer, and so it won't just be judged on the basis of tonight as good as it was. It will be across the whole season, or at least since Ineos have come in, and they'll be watching what's happening on the pitch, what's happening off and around the pitch, on the training ground, behaviours, style of play, character of everybody there at sort of every level. And so this was a sign to me that the players are still battling away and fighting for Erik Ten Hag. He hasn't, to coin the wearied phrase, lost the dressing room, it would seem. I'm sure there are some unhappy players at every club, and Man United will be no different. But that was a good performance, and he seemed to stir the crowd up heading towards the cup final. I actually thought that was a really good speech on the pitch. He was impassioned and it seemed to go down relatively well. But let's not get away from the fact that his future's in the balance. The Ineos hierarchy will be weighing up what to do now. They'll be looking at him on the one hand and also looking at potential replacements as they have to do if a change is going to be made. He will also be looking at it as well, David, because he's only got a year left on his contract. Yes, there's an option to extend beyond that, but it seems that he would be wanted by clubs around Europe if he was available. Does he want to be part of this regime? So yeah, it's there's a lot to sort out there. It was a good night, but it doesn't mean it changes the bigger picture that huge decisions await, most likely after the cup final.
we mentioned this before, and John mentioned it before about, the potential, other manager options, and one of the stories being covered in the papers is Thomas Tuchel, and now he could stay at Bayern, like Xavi Hernandez is going to stay at Barcelona. So it might well be that the options are not necessarily, all there, and all the timing might not be aligned. Let's talk about Chelsea, John, and another win for them tonight. Again, Cole Palmer. 27 goals, is it, this season? It's absolutely astonishing. And here they are, having been, I think, 11th for pretty much the entirety of the season, and they could actually finish 5th. I mean, it's talking about coming up on the rails and Mauricio Pochettino getting some late momentum in the season here.
Absolutely fantastic, isn't it? I mean, Pochettino has spoken every single week about having a young squad, needing to develop players, getting into a rhythm. And we're finally kind of almost seeing the fruits of his labour, aren't we? I mean, there's a nice headline in my paper there by my piece by my colleague Alan Smith, but also Poch's Six Machines. Really, fantastic run of wins, and then also closing in on that top 6 finish. So, I do think they've suddenly changed the outlook completely. I still feel as if they've got lots of questions. I mean, it was a brilliant night for Cole Palmer, but then Reece James unbelievably gets sent off. So he misses the final game of the season and the first 2 of next. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? I mean, it feels like with Chelsea 2 steps forward and 1 back at the moment, but they're still churning out those wins and still getting it right. And I do admire Pochettino. I do hope he turns it round, and I do hope he stays. I do still think there's probably some question marks over that, whether he does see it out, just simply because does he feel that he's got the backing and the support and everything in place to kind of carry on this end of season momentum right from the start of pre-season and into next season. So let's see how that develops. I think Pochettino is showing us at the moment that he can be the perfect fit, and he's building a young squad, and he's very, very good working with young players.
So obviously, maybe his abilities were cast in some doubt early on, but now he's really addressed that, and he's got getting the answers from his players. Maybe you could also say about Brendan Rodgers and his reputation, David, with Celtic. Very briefly, we're short on time here, but for him to see off the threat of Philippe Clement